but it's a case which comes up when we study scandalizing the judiciary. And I have a paper, Professor Kawo, I have a paper on English-speaking judges and liars. I have been afraid to say it, but it's written in honor of an event that happened at the beginning of the year. Grand Mullah, Senior Counsel Abdullahi, Abdel Nasir, yes, Abdullahi, was banished from the Supreme Court of Kenya, together with his partners, associates, employees, and clients. They said anybody who associates with Abdullahi will get no audience in the Supreme Court, simply because of how Abdullahi conducts himself on Twitter. So I wrote an essay for which I debated should it be presented at University of Nairobi, Makerere, but it's finished. Thank you. I have made the case. But anyway, so this war is not even localized, you can see. It's an East African war now. Okay? The cat is already out of the bag. The people are wiser, braver, and more empowered these days. Long jail sentences, astronomical fines, tax warnings, and other mysterious sanctions will no longer deter anyone from the patriotic duty of exposing and combating judicial corruption and judicial sophistry, or Yahweh, or Feremu Court. But these excesses will certainly embarrass the judiciary, lowering its standing in society, which is a classical goal. So the rest of the case is made in this article, to which I invite you. Malema has not really spoken deeply about the MTN IPO case, but the MTN IPO case which occurred sometime. This is October. It began in October of 2021 and it closed in December of 2024. That was the Makerere Ssemakadde highest hour. Makerere was conducting litigation on his own terms against this behemoth that had been directed by our sovereign authority. In this particular case, Makerere and Museveni were speaking the same language. General Museveni had felt that MTN had eaten our lunch for so long. If there should be a renewal of their license, they should give some of the lunch to Ugandans. So MTN did this IPO, and an IPO is an initial public offering, the sale of shares, under directive, and the agency responsible for approving a prospectus is called the Capital Markets Authority. So Makerere sued the Capital Markets Authority for doing shoddy work of approving MTN prospectus, because his own investigation showed that there are no shares. MTN is against stealing, as has been stealing for so many years. But again, it is lawyers who are protecting MTN stealing from Ugandans. And I played the role of commentator for this litigation, ringside commentator for this litigation. Some of the most interesting internet debris is during that hour. I have asked a friend of mine to send me a congratulatory message, which I sent Makerere. When the judge said, "We have dismissed the case," for me, I used my own special office as legal rebel to say, "You have won the case." So, take heart. I can't find the picture, but those of you who are so good at extracting Twitter history, please look for it. I thought that particular message really answered, because I sent a telex to my colleague in a decolonial manner. So we used the word decolonization because we cast this whole thing was really decolonization, democratization, digital transformation. Maybe enjoyed a headline which read that year, MTN sought additional time to sell shares because the IPO had been such a phenomenal failure. It had been undersubscribed, and they gave the reasons to the regulator. litigation and social media commentary. There was only one litigation by Malema Mabilis and the commentary by Malema Mabilis' part. And we had done some damage. You know, so Malema Mabilis celebrated it. Of course, I can imagine lawyers who were on brief for MTN, they were under. So this is where the content begins, you see. So you can understand that sending Malema Mabilis to jail isn't really about offending the judges. There is an element of foreign imperialism interests that were touched and embarrassed. And the judiciary was supposed to supply itself as a tool for this never to happen again. Thank you, Malema Mabilis, for helping that. I wanted to bring that context. It did come out well, and probably it shouldn't, because you have to speak to doctrine. I was commented in that case. I had to circle, complete the circle. Malema Mabilis, in your presentation, you have by human, infallibility, forgotten to stress Article 127 of the Constitution. And for me, Article 127 underlines the significance of today's inaugural conference on human rights, peace, and social justice. Article 127 of the anybody up there, some geek who knows it? There's money. Yes, geek, try. Please speak louder and with pride. Yes. Bang the table. Stand up and bang the table. Yes. Government shall make law providing for administration of justice. So that was written 29 years ago. 29 nearly 30 years ago. Parliament has written so many laws, but it has refused to write any law under Article 127 to promote the participation of the people in the administration of justice. You can also read Article 4. Article 4 of the Constitution. So Julius, our editor, I hope you're taking notes. Yes. Article 4. Yes. You don't have it? Okay. Promotion of public awareness. Yes. The state shall promote public awareness of this Constitution by A. Okay. So the state shall promote public awareness of this Constitution by A, translating it into Ugandan languages and disseminating it as widely as possible, and B, providing for the teaching of the Constitution in all educational institutions and armed forces training institutions, and regularly transmitting and publishing programs through the media generally. Joke of the day, right? Joke of the day. Bang the table. 39 years. So, what is the place of the law and lawyers in the struggle for freedom and democracy? They inherited two core obligations under Article 4 and Article 127, and they have observed them in breach. And yet they insist that you should recognize them and give them full decorum. They are respectable individuals. Are they? These dogs don't hunt. These dogs don't what? They don't hunt. They are despicable individuals. So, therefore, our convener, the great question of the year, which has been resolved at the ballot at Munyonyo just last weekend. The weekend is the following. We have come what the French call a cul-de-sac. We have come to the end of the road. Uganda law as a dog will not hunt anymore unless it accepts that there is need for different thinking about these four things: legal education and training. Who gets to determine who becomes a lawyer? How they become a lawyer, what they are trained as lawyers. The second is legal justice. How does one become first and foremost a judge, or a judicial officer, a magistrate? How are they checked at the job? The quality of judicial outcomes. Is anybody interested? Who should be interested? Should it be lawyers or citizens? So the third is lawmaking. Who gets to make our laws? How do they write them? In whose interest do they write them? To whom do they owe accountability? Is it lawyers or citizens? Lastly, law enforcement. By the executive, the police, the military, the institutions of law that were created. The great question of the day is the place of the citizen in this corner, in this box. Is the citizen fully empowered to question outcomes on each of these pillars? Am I setting the question properly? Are our citizens offered a ballot paper where the questions on which they are voting involve the efficacy of the law? Is the law working for them? Is the law achieving justice? Is justice on the ballot? Uganda has 3.3 million electable positions. At each of those moments when the citizen goes to vote, have the candidates debated justice as the core outcome of the democratic process? That is something we have to ask ourselves. I'm so grateful that lawyers accepted our 40th mandate, and they looked, they did soul searching, they reflected, and they said, no, Isaac, we have been failing. Let us try the rebels' way. So we want this bang the table, back on track revolution to reverberate across Uganda, such that citizens can be offered these questions. Mabins has told you that citizens, the lawyers are planning to send citizens away from the courts. Contrary to Article 4 and Article 127, this is what they are planning. Had it been for Ssemakadde to come, So we couldn't stay in the trenches as critics, as participants, as litigants. We had to raise these issues as a national emergency. And we encourage you, students, to continue this revolution. So, Dr. Kabumba, there's so much I could say about our keynote speaker, but I believe that God has been great to the two of us, and you have had, the bonhomie, which really is what you have. You're a nice guy. You're a brilliant man, and you have your sense on the right pulse of the nation. This nation has to celebrate more Malay abilities and has to create more Malay my reasons. I would be unfair to you if I were to leave this stage without reading and recommending a reading from an essay I came across online when I had to prepare for a similar lecture. Sometime in 2021 again, 2021 was really a fine hour for us. Dr. Atim, yes, invited me to address a similar gathering, but was digital, about almost the same subject. And I found myself having to speak some truth to the students then, and I got worried whether I would ever be invited back to speak such truth to students. There is this notion that you come to law school to study to become advocates. But in that lecture, I made the case that students should abandon being advocates and study law with the determined goal to end up as activists, social justice activists. Because whether they liked it or not, advocates were on the fall and activists were on the rise. People were finding new ways to seek justice without lawyers, without law. And it's going to be very expensive to remain an advocate. In fact, this is not the truth. So many of you come to the bar thinking that it has warned you, that you will find great wealth, and you stagnate there because there's no more wealth, to find as of right at the bar. However, there's much capacity for impact as Malema is, without even going to LBC. So I made that case then, and I was worried after. Actually, one of the students asked that now, Ssemakadde, should we go to LBC? These were some of the questions. I got concerned when the questions came. So, this paper is called The Distinction Between Lawyers as Advocates and as Activists, and the Role of the Law School Dean in Facilitating the Justice Mission. It is written by James Douglas, who was dean then of Texas Southern University, and it was published in the Cleveland State Law Review, Volume 40, issue number 3, of 1992. So, this article, I want to read from this article to celebrate your role in convening a meeting of rebels addressing law students for the unabashed project of radicalizing them. This is a role that the author celebrates at page 3 of this article, the role of the law dean. The role of the law dean in promoting the justice mission is to be a leader by example. So he gives the example that in order to promote justice, the dean must strive to involve the students in all aspects of the law school's operations, especially its governance. The dean should request that students serve on the important committees, and I'm happy that Miss Oma is a student. Are you? Huh? A doctorate student, yes. How about our rapporteur? Same. Okay. That is to say the hiring committee, the rank and tenure committee. With this as an example, the students will better understand that the dean believes that the students, are part of the total law school environment. When I was here as MLS president, I sat on the faculty board. So I participated in these decisions. I saw the debates and, the decorum, our level pair off in the faculty board. So this article goes further and celebrates you specifically in a passage I wanted to read before I leave. I also believe that the dean sets a good example by being actively involved in various professional associations. If the dean says that service in professional organizations is important, then the dean must set an example by his or her service and involvement with professional organizations. If the dean says that it is important to represent indigent clients, then the dean must in some way set an example by assisting indigent clients, either by taking cases, giving advice, or serving on boards of legal service organizations that represent the poor and the needy. And Dr. Haumba, you have been a dean leading by example. Probably the most important thing a dean can do is to help students understand the relationship and difference between law and justice. I will not go into this because a conceptual thesis of greater import than today, but so many law students would be surprised that law has nothing to do with justice, and becoming an advocate might actually involve you, as might be submitted, in being an agent of injustice for the rest of your career, while non-advocates like Malema are the true champions of justice. I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Because we are out of time, we should have finished at 2. It's now coming to 3. I will not say so much, but I just wanted to really thank you for your celebration of Mr. Makerere, of his vigor, of his passion, of his courage, his contribution, his commitment. There's a lot to be said. But it was very, very evident that there was no better person to have celebrated Mr. Makerere other than his twin, his colleague, his comrade, and above all, his friend in the struggle. So thank you so much for your address. We are going to use exactly 10 minutes for the plenary, and thereafter we shall allow our speakers to address us in about 5 minutes in response to the questions that will have been raised. So I'm starting right away. 10 minutes, please.
Thank you very much. My name is. Do we have to speak? My name is Ssemakadde. I was invited. I'm here with my wife, Susan. I was invited by my friend Isaac to come and attend your presentation, Mr. Makerere. I live in the US, and Isaac, I'm a rebel, just like Isaac. I'm a mathematician. I'm a healthcare professional living in Boston, Massachusetts. When Isaac came to the US, Mr. Makerere, I want to make context. When Isaac came to the US, I think 2001, 2022, he never realized the potential that he had as a rebel, as a legal rebel. And everywhere we went, from when we went to Harvard, when you are giving your thing to the students with Hillary, I was with him and Hillary. The students were in awe. They would not understand that there is a black man who is putting on dreads that is also smart. And when we went, Isaac was in the, how do you call them in Uganda? Those sneakers that you like. Huh? So he was dressed in a t-shirt, so we go to this very big Harvard podium, and he's, but as a people, as Ugandans, we follow you, and you give us the zeal to continue this fight. For us, we may not face the tear gas, may not face the arrests yet, but there is a lot of fight that we're doing.